Making Do, Personal Reflections on Transnational Yoruba Motherhood in the 20th and 21st centuries. There are rich Yoruba proverbs and aphorisms that structure my construction and praxis of motherhood. A few examples would suffice. One is Òrìsà bí ìyá ò sí, ìyá làbá sìn. Translating to there's no deity like the mother. It is mothers we should worship. Here's another one. Ìyá ni wurà, bàbá ni jígí. Mother is gold, father is glass or mirror. There's also the concept of Ìkúnlè, abiyamo. That is the pains, pangs, potential dangers, and liminal condition of a mother who's going through the birthing process. I'm also deeply influenced by my mother, my grandmother, and various other mothers who are members of my extended Yoruba family. Now, I am a transnational Yoruba woman who birthed and raised children in the 20th and 21st centuries in a nuclear family with a very supportive, hands-on Nigerian spouse. I also now am a grandmother of a child that was born in the 21st century. In the Yoruba context, my own experience of motherhood amounts to raising children in isolation. Yoruba families could be nuclear, they could be polygynous, they are always extended. For me, the challenge has been how to recreate a Yoruba social context in the absence of close extended family. I have had to make do. In the process, new ways of being family have emerged for me. Some were facilitated by new information technology, and others by doing what the Yorubas have always done in terms of making family. Yorubas have always embraced the notion of fictive kinship. So the way in which I formed family as a transnational Yoruba woman is to use the concept of fictive kinship to build family. And this has extended the reach of family, whom I consider family, beyond my Yoruba, Nigerian, and even African origins. I have been guided by Yoruba values, and I've had to struggle to respond creatively and imaginatively to the challenges and opportunities of transnational mothering by making do as a Yoruba mother who wants my children to be committed to Yoruba cultural values. Kind of thinking about those experiences, and I'm talking about them here. What is the Yoruba context of motherhood? I think essentially at the core, it is about raising children in community. So together with Hausa and Igbo, Yoruba is one of the three main languages spoken in Nigeria. where approximately 21% of people speak it. There also are approximately 30 million Yoruba in West Africa. And there's a transnational Yoruba presence beyond Nigeria in parts of Togo, Ghana, Republic of Benin, Sierra Leone, Brazil, Cuba, the Caribbean, and in many other parts of the world, including the US, which is my current location. So, Yoruba families, like I said before, are nuclear, polygynous, and extended. Motherhood is embedded in all these three kinds of family structure. And it makes it impossible. It makes it possible for members to depend and draw upon a support system that gives material, psychological, physical, and manifold other forms of social support to a mother. Such support, of course, should not be romanticized as an uncomplicated and forever positive experience. To whom much is given, much is expected. So, in addition to the pleasures and mutual support, the benefits and the advantages of co-mothering in the way that the Yorubas do, there are tensions and conflicts and problems that arise from having to negotiate family relations with large groups of people. There could also be friendly as well as destructive competition in this mothering that I'm describing. People are socialized to expect such challenges and then to look for opportunities and to be prepared to address them in ways that make it possible to peaceably coexist. So, motherhood being so embedded means that a woman approaching this stage of life can expect both solicited and totally unsolicited advice, welcome and not so welcome support, and a rich soup of human understandings and relationships that make life very meaningful and also challenging and exciting all at once. Having been born into a Yoruba family in Nigeria, I grew up in both a nuclear and extended family. I was not so privileged to experience a polygynous family firsthand, although both my parents were born into polygynous families, and many members of my extended family are in polygynous families. I grew up in a family where my parents loved, valued, nurtured, and treasured me and my siblings. They disciplined and guided us to prepare us for a world where we are expected to become fully independent adults with our own children. We also had a huge extended family. That meant having numerous mothers, each with their own particularity. Majority of them were blood relations. Others were fictive kin. There's also an expectation that all Yoruba women would want to be mothers. This can be a formidable challenge to anyone that does not necessarily share this perspective. And given the norm of motherhood, being a female child means that one is a prime candidate for grooming to become a mother. Being part of a social context that validates the norm means that one would be surrounded by social ethos that structures the construction and praxis of motherhood. This was the case for me. I will draw upon Yoruba proverbs and aphorisms that are relevant to motherhood to make it clear that motherhood is important for the Yoruba. It is the ultimate honor, and this is demonstrated by the saying, Òrìsà bí ìyá ò sí, ìyá là bá sìn. That is, there's no deity like the mother. It is mothers we should worship. Adoration, love, reverence, respect, devotion, adulation, and veneration of mothers are ideals considered essential to being Yoruba. A Yoruba child is made to understand this as part of the fundamental conditions of what makes a good person. Part of the justification for the deification of mothers is due to the Ìkúnlè abiyamo. That is the pains, pangs, potential dangers, and liminal conditions of a mother who is going through the birthing process. Mother's fecundity, their capacity to host, protect, and nurture life, both during the gestational period and after birth, involves passing through the pains, pangs, and potentially dangerous birthing process. The danger, while potential, remains very palpable because it could produce the joy of a live birth or the crushing sadness of a stillbirth. The mother may survive or die as well. Passing through this agonizing state privileges mothers and confers on them the honor of being deities who are intimately involved in the mystery of life. Fecundity is also highly valued. Yoruba say, "Ènìyàn láṣọ mi." People are my clothing or wealth. The more people you have, the wealthier you are. This may be because of being an agrarian people in the days of yore. It is also about the importance of having people to depend on for the non-material support, both in good times and in bad times. Without the Ìkúnlè abiyamo, the production of people is impossible, and wealth defined as having many people around one becomes elusive, if not impossible. The importance of mothers to their children is also expressed by the saying, ìyá ni wurà, bàbá ni jígí. Mother is gold, father is glass or mirror. Some of what this means is that the relationship between mother and child is infinitely more valuable than that between a father and child. The primary sustenance for a child, both in utero and after birth, comes from a mother. In the context of a polygynous household, a child must depend more on the mother than father. The father is going to be pulled in all kinds of directions by the other mothers and their children, and does have responsibilities towards them. The day-to-day care and nurture of the child also devolves more heavily on mothers than on fathers. Yorubas recognize that mothers work extraordinarily hard to nurture and support children, and they acknowledge this by saying, "Ìyá ni wúrà, bàbá ni jígí." Mother is gold, father is glass or mirror. Growing up in an extended family meant that I had not only the influence of my mother, but that of my grandmother and various other mothers who are also members of my extended Yoruba family. My grandfather was polygynous, so some of those mothers were my grandmother's co-wives. Some of these mothers, as I said previously, are blood relations, and some are fictive kin. Being part of an extended family also means my mother was not exclusively responsible for nurturing, counseling, and supporting me. All my mothers chipped in to some degree or another. Mothering then did not become an overwhelming burden for my mother. She had physical, material, psychological, and other social support from women in the extended family. This came in the form of advice, support, and information while she was expectant, during the process of birth, and after birth. And it includes support during the Isomoloruko, or the naming ceremony, assistance with babysitting, assistance with major rites of passage for the child, including major birthdays and wedding, advice and counsel also on what it means to be a good human being that is liberally dispensed to the growing child and even to the adolescent and the adult person that the child grows into. While Ìkúnlè abiyamo asserts the cruciality of women to birthing, the norm that a child could have many mothers means that a woman does not necessarily have to birth a child to mother her or him. There's also a long history of fostering as well as the institution of informal adoption that both ensure that a woman who cannot birth a child and wants one can experience motherhood. However, fostering an informal adoption is not limited to women who cannot or do not birth children. For example, children who need a firm hand may be fostered with someone who has the reputation of being a disciplinarian, who may already have children of her own. This was the case with my mother, that she fostered many children because she was renowned as a disciplinarian, a woman of substance, somebody that you should aim to emulate. There's also kind of consciousness that some children have, you know, gifts. And those gifts can best be nurtured by people who are already experts in that area. So, children who have a gift or leaning toward a certain craft may also be fostered with a woman who has the skills and knowledge base to train them. Children who lose their mothers are also fostered with family members who may or may not have children of their own. My mother also fostered children whose mothers had passed away in their baby days. So let me now talk about transnational motherhood and birthing and raising children in the 20th and 21st centuries from my own personal experience. I'm now a member of a nuclear family. I've lived in the US for now 4 decades, and I had a very supportive, very hands on Nigerian spouse, as well as two sons. So we are a family of four. We're also part of extended families here in the US and in Nigeria and in other parts of the world. Now, we also have added to our family my daughter-in-law and my grandson. So we're growing. Some of the extended family that we have is organic. They're people to whom we are related by ties of blood. Other family is as a result of fictive kinship. Some of these are in Nigeria, the fictive kin, as well as the organic blood related family members. And some are in many other parts of the world. Some fictive kinship was created very consciously, and some serendipitously. I see what I have done as making do, in the sense that I was put in a difficult situation. I had to mother without much family support, close family support, the extended family. And I had to respond to this challenge creatively. This situation could be conceptualized within an agent structure framework. The structural constraints in which I found myself made it clear that I didn't have an extended family around me in the United States. As an agent, I had fewer choices, but I was able to use tools and mechanisms availed me as a result of my socialization in a Yoruba family to create new, fictive, extended family, to maintain connectedness with old extended family, and to negotiate the challenges of motherhood in the 20th and 21st centuries. As a Yoruba woman who has now lived in the US for over for 4 decades, and as the mother of two men, and as the grandmother of a baby, and as the mother-in-law of a younger woman, the challenge has been recreating Yoruba social context in the absence of close extended family, and at the same time, building an extended family here in the US. Being part of a world where the concept of being rich in people was a foundational principle of my existence in my formative years means that I have had to make do. The organic nuclear and extended family to which I originally belonged have most of their members in Nigeria. They're also members who are in far-flung areas of the world, including here in the US. But there's no critical mass in the US. And making do is necessitated by my existential condition. There's a nuclear family now composed of me, my spouse, and my two children. There also is another nuclear family being built by my son, his wife, and my grandson. So we are now developing an extended family. And as a result of relationship with my daughter-in-law, some of the family is Jamaican. Some of them are located in Jamaica, majority of them, and some are located here in the US. So the extended family that is being created is not in close proximity. And I must create family in a very conscious way. This creation of family is also very spontaneous and serendipitous. I see what I've done as making do in the sense that I've had to take opportunity to create and embrace new ways of being family, you know. And those ways, I need to have them resonate with elements of Yoruba notions of what family means. Some family creation is facilitated by forging fictive kinship ties that extend the reach of family beyond my Yoruba, Nigerian, and African origins. As a result of my son marrying, as a matter of fact, that extension has embraced our Jamaican members of this growing extended family. Also, over the years, my good friends have become aunties and uncles to my children. My children even have a Panamanian grandma who turned 100 years old last year. She is the mother of one of my good friends. This woman helped me tremendously when my children were growing up. She babysat for me gratis. She gave my children presents for birthdays and Christmas. Her grandchildren were my children's cousins. Her children were my children's aunties and uncles. My family also became part of their family. They're a very essential part of my new extended family. And I'm eternally grateful to Mama Claudia Thomas for the blessing that she has been in my life as the Brooklyn based grandmother of my children when their own grandmother, who is my mother or was my mother, was resident in Lagos, Nigeria. Coincidentally, when one of my children's aunties had to go to work in Nigeria, this Panamanian branch of the family that I became part of, she could depend on my original nuclear family to welcome her, get her settled and situated, and provide a network of people on whom she could depend and who could give her wealth in people. My husband is Nigerian, but he's not Yoruba. He's a Shakiri from the Niger Delta. And the Ishakiris and the Yorubas are some of Nigeria's over 500 ethnic groups. Over 500. My children also have family from him. Other ones of my children's aunties and uncles are from various ethnicities in Nigeria, Africa, and other parts of the world. Having to make do means I probably would not have made as many friendships as I have over the years if I had not had children. Making do for other kinds of family creation is due to the use of new information technology. Through these mechanisms, I'm able to maintain active, vibrant, meaningful, and rich connections with my extended family. I'm able to um, depend on these people as my wealth, which is counted in people, not in money. This is an important part of what I consider most significant to mothering my children. I want them to know Yoruba values by experiencing them in community. For example, I want them to know Yoruba. For example, I want to enrich them by covering them with people to make them feel what it means when the Yorubas say, "Eniyan laṣọ mi," people are my clothing, people are my wealth. The internet, the email, Skype, Facebook, and social media, as well as now during the days of this pandemic, all this media of um, communication and teaching like Zoom, like YouTube, like, WebEx, Blue Jeans, and so forth. There are ways in which we build community. There are ways in which we maintain family connections. We do naming ceremonies via Zoom, for example. There have been funerals, there have been significant birthdays. People are planning weddings because we cannot get together the way we used to. So um, I use all these methods. And I also make Facebook friends and LinkedIn, connections. And all these are possibilities from which one could build family if one so desires. And then there are also mechanisms and tools with which we both build family and maintain connectedness with one another, the existing nuclear family and the extended family, whether it's by blood or it's fictive. We can all get together as family, have conversations, have virtual meals, virtual celebrations, and so forth. Making do also means that I've been guided by Yoruba values, and I've had to struggle to respond creatively and imaginatively to the challenges and opportunities of transnational mothering by creating avenues that would and praxis, practices that would model what it means to me to be a Yoruba mother. Such opportunities would also include modeling Yoruba cultural values to my children and my grandchild and my daughter-in-law, who I consider one of my children, so that they understand the content and the context of those values as members of communities where relationships are negotiated with people who may at times be easy to deal with and at other times be very difficult to relate to. Motherhood is difficult. Don't let anybody fool you. It is hard work. The hard work of reproduction, both as a conceptual matter and as a physical reality, are formidable. And they do wear you out. Combining work as a PhD student with mothering well nigh killed me. I almost died. It was exhausting. It was nerve-wracking. But then it was also beautiful, Being on the tenure track was a grueling task that did not fit that well with the challenges and responsibilities of mothering young children and doing it well. There were not enough hours in the day to do everything that I had to do and doing them well. And I had to really struggle and burn the candle from both ends. Having a supportive spouse who took some of the responsibilities for child rearing was an asset and a blessing. Making do, frankly, also means that I have an ideal in mind, and it is always a struggle to keep reaching for it, especially now that I have a grandson. And part of what I'd like to accomplish before I go to the great beyond, where the elders go, to reunite with my parents and my siblings who are gone before me, and other members of my extended family, my grandparents from my mother's side and my father's side, my aunties and uncles, and cousins who are all gone before me, reuniting with them before I go to reunite. I have to, I mean, I want to make it obvious to my children what it means to be a Yoruba family, how it is that motherhood is central to that experience, and that motherhood and parenting is not to be done in an isolated way. You need people. And here is where your strength in people, your wealth in people, gives you an additional advantage. And we have to be clear. Relating to these extended family, it's beautiful, it's joyful, it's a loving relationship. It can also be very difficult because everybody is different. And learning how to negotiate these relationships and negotiate them with grace is part of what it means to make family among the Yoruba. Thank you.